Hey, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Wassup Conversations, a podcast with inspiring storytellers across different mediums and crafts. I'm your host, Hamid Reza Nikoufar. In this episode, my guest is a veteran music composer of the video game industry, with remarkable titles like Call of Juarez, The Witcher, Dying Light in his portfolio. His recent work, the music for the cyberpunk-themed action game The Ascent, encouraged me to have him on the show and talk to him about his techniques, synth, and workflow. Ladies and gentlemen, my great guest today is Paweł Błaszczak from Poland. Before we begin, please subscribe, like, and share this podcast if you're finding it to be helpful and informative. Also, please consider donating to Wassup Conversations via the link in the description of this episode. It will help us to continue and grow in the future. You can find out more about Wassup Conversations and our future guest from newcomermusic.com or from my Twitter and Instagram. Alright, let's get into it. Hello and welcome to Wassup Conversations, Paweł. So good to have you on the podcast. How are you doing, sir?
Hello, I am doing good. Thanks for inviting me. I am happy that I can be on your podcast. I'm happy about it. It's a pretty warm day outside today in Poland, and I'm pretty busy like always. So it's the like usual.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you, man. Big fan of you. And congratulations
Thank
for
you.
the success of the Ascent. I finished the game last week and I had so much fun with it. I love this cyberpunk setting, and the game delivered everything I love about the genre. How did this project begin? How did you get involved?
I was involved 2 years ago in the Ascent. It was like I was writing demos for Tor and Arcade. They are Tor are a president of Neon Giant. They are a team, and I wrote demos for them. I wrote a lot of demos. It was like 20 or 30 demos because we are trying to find good idea for the Ascent. First, the melody approach, and the idea was that every level of Ascent should have a melody approach. So, but also kind of dark melody approach. So we are in demos. We are trying to find the style, the idea for the Ascent.
Yeah. So the music in the game is a kind of combination of two different approaches. Some ambient music to kind of create this futuristic atmosphere, and then some cool-ass progressive action cues. How do you create such great atmospheric pieces to kind of conjure this feeling of being a technologically advanced world?
It's a good question. It was, first it was not easy because I really need to find melody for every level, and it was interesting because Ascent is one side very modern, but second side is quite of Blade Runner's stylistic and goes in the shell. So it is kind of, you can't name it as retro, but it's kind of, neons and all this stuff. It has some own atmosphere. And, it's for these ambience levels, I was always looking on at early stages of how this levels looks like. And I was just trying to catch atmosphere of this level, which, to be honest, wasn't easy because, every time melody approach to this kind of levels is not easy. But as a player, I played a lot of Diablo 2. They has also a melody approach. So I was, always in the games, you need to feel a game. It's I just try to do that. Second thing was to catch combat schemes, and firstly I catch them too fast. Thor and Erkert write me, Paweł, this guy, this hero isn't running, he is fighting. Yeah. So, it's not a movie, it is a game. So, in the movie, even when a hero is fighting, you can write very fast moving tracks. And here it wasn't working very fast track. They has right that it was like player maybe should run. So I was, trying to find more synthwave style to that. One side aggressive, and I was always try to find some kind of feeling like like you are big metal with metal improvements, metal electronics improvements guy, and just you are fighting with this all these enemies going to you. And I was just try to find it like you stand with big guns and feel that atmosphere when you are fighting. I was not trying to imagine in my head that you are going somewhere. It was not helping because you was thinking that the tempo should be faster. But I was like more feeling like you are standing with a big gun, with this metal armor, with these metal improvements and metal electronics improvements, cybernetics, and you are just staying and fighting like last hero, some kind of that.
Yeah, and what's great about the kind of non-combat musics in the game is that the game is not really heavily focused on the sound effects of the environments, but the music is kind of selling the kind of imagination of being there. And okay, this is an advanced environment. This is not. This is a city. This is a kind of a lower part of the city, and the music is doing that too. And within the combat, exactly as you mentioned, the feeling is there that I'm something very advanced fighting these enemies, and you guys did it perfectly well. So you mentioned Ghost in the Shell and Blade Runner as references to the music of the Ascent. Were you a fan of the cyberpunk genre before beginning the game?
Yes, of course. I am the guy from 80s. My first game was Commodore. My first computer was Commodore 64, and my first games was Commodore 64 games. So, one of my first movies was Blade Runner. First was Alien in the 80s, but second it was Aliens, which is not cyberpunk, but it has some
it's in the sci-fi
metal
genre.
It's sci-fi, and I love Blade Runner, and I love this evangelist approach to that. It's like combining some brutal androids with the really great music. And it was big inspiration for me, Blade Runner, in this music, and also Ghost in the Shell. And I love sci-fi from my youth. I read a lot of sci-fi books, and also I watch movies. Especially Blade Runner, and I loved that. In the Ascent, they combined cyberpunk world with the alien world, which is I always was thinking when this last question from Rodger Hauer is in Blade Runner, I was always thinking how those other planets looks like. It was very, I imagine full of, I try to imagine that, and I think the Ascent, it's a little bit answer this questions that other worlds can be like this cyber world combined with alien species and all this. And I really, from the beginning, I just love this atmosphere, this whole feeling of the Ascent, and also that from the beginning, Tor and Arcade, they just want music for the synths. They like that. They are not trying to, find us approach which is not with synths, because I am a big fan of hardware synths, vintage synths, and of course modern synths, VST synths, any kind of synths I am fan of. It was for me this kind of like, this project was love from this first see from this first, watch. I just love this project. From the beginning.
That was an interesting combination, that seeing different species kind of making it a bigger world rather than a usual cyberpunk, like a high-tech low-life setting.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was transferred in the music and in the sound too. And I mean, when you hear the NPCs, the aliens talking, that's interesting. They have their own language with subtitles, and it's making the world kind of richer. And the music helped it too. So, how's your relationship with the with interactive dynamic music of the game? What was your approach creating this responsive musical experience in the Ascent?
I need to mention that Sweet Jazz is a company from England. Did sound effects, and they also mixing whole game somewhere from the Sweet Justice. And as answering, they mostly they help to bring interactivity to this world, combine them music and sound effects with the whole world. They are mixing that and make music more interactive, because I was preparing the atmosphere music isn't interactive, but the combat music is more interactive, and then they tried to find some loops find some ideas how to find best way for mixing music and sound effects, and doing this balance when music can be louder, when sound effects should be louder. I'm thankful for them. They was doing really great job about that.
They did great job
for creating this whole atmosphere. It is very important,
kind of part
because
of the sound. The music was kind of part of the sound effects, and
yes, exactly. They do really great job, because in my opinion, the graphic is really gorgeous, and music just serve this graphic, and also SFX served this church's graphic. And I think it is very important. It's nothing is like music should serve to gameplay and for the graphic. And I hope like people I hope like that.
So I love your album When Moog D Met Prophet 5. So were you inspired by the Ascent during the creation of that album?
It was like a little bit. another thing because I am trying not only write music for the games and movies, and I am trying also writing music which is just in my head, which is, my feeling about the world. And like, I think all artists, they doing album, and most of them think this album is not good enough to be released. And same was with this Prophet Meet Moog. This album mostly was, I created this album in the very early stage of working on the Ascent, but I released that later because I was thinking I should make this album better, but it was always no time for making this album better, and maybe not necessity for making this album better. And at some point, I just think, okay, it's good enough. I should just release that album. And on this album, I should just, I love, as I said, I love vintage Prophet 5, and I have Mini Moog reissue. And I just think that, we are hearing a lot of albums, a lot of music with Moog and Prophet, but never music which is only made on Prophet and Moog. So my idea was, to give those two synths some kind of highlight, and just, put together just only two of them, because I was also trying to do some minimalistic album on only two synths. But after I finished that, even if I was working on this album, I was thinking, it's not probably way for me. I missed, some third synths like Roland SH2. I missed some other synths. And Ascent is good example of, I am like, I have some collection of the vintage synth and vintage romplers and stuff like that. And I use almost every synth which I have on the Ascent. So, it's doing this Prophet Meet Moog, it was probably, I like minimalistic music, but mainly not minimalistic on only two synths. Because compared to Ascent, when I use always, 10 on 15 or 15 synths, it was like, it was still missing me some synth, and I was, so I have next album in way to release, and on this album I am not trying to do all on only two synths, so it is more.
But it was great. I mean, I listened to it, and the limitation creates creativity, and you could hear that in that album. And
yes,
I listened to that, and then I listened to the Ascent album, and it was fantastic. It was it was like a sequel to that album. It was awesome. Yeah.
So, thank you.
Yeah. Speaking of analog gears, I sold my analog gears like three years ago, I think, because I do believe that technology has come so far to make it possible to sound great only using a computer.
Yes.
So, but what remains unachievable though is that touch, the feeling of connecting with the device and that creates sound. How do you feel about this transition to the digital world of sound making?
I agree with you completely. I am thinking every day about selling all my synths. It's like I am all every day, but it's probably, I really realize that all digital technology right now, it's really sound good, very good. And it's they have a lot of pros compared to vintage gear, and they almost sound the same. And it is all about what ideas are in your head, what you want to say with your ideas. This is more important, and then have some kind of equipment. So I really love how this digital world is going. A couple of days ago, I was only at the night. I was checking this Apple M1 processor, and I was, I was checking that reprofile, which is from Yuhi reproducing of Prophet 5. And I was like, open 10 instances and 5 with very HQ sound. It was, wow, 10 instances of Repro 5 on M1, 30-inch MacBook on the night, in my bed. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it was like, I don't even plug some sound card for it. And I was able to do some track. Yeah. I was also, because I have also Roland Cloud, I put also promos to that. And because I'm a big Roland fanboy. And well, I was comparing on my YouTube channel. I was comparing my vintage Prophet 5 to the Repro, and they almost sound same. What differences are still? There are differences like Formula One. They are like milliseconds differences. It's some when you making a filter a little bit, doing something like that. There's some still difference. Maybe my difference is that, on my Prophet 5 vintage, it's, the oscillators are like 50 years old, and they just are, they are vintage with this noise, with this, all this, stuff. And that is maybe little what you can't do with modern stuff. But, when I working on the Ascent, it was like, when you are recording hardware synthesizer and you have recorded that in your computer, after that you can't not do a lot with that. With that, it is bit cons, and when you are doing when you are using plugins, you can do when. After week of sitting of one track, and you realize that in mix some things are not sitting well, you can just easy adjust plugins, filters, and envelopes, especially in compact tracks when you did a lot of distortion synth thing. It is like in the mix something is too bright or too dark on this, just working not right. So it was really important having some stuff from the plugins, and my kind of working is just starting from the blank page, and that depends how is the day. I started with hardware synths or I started with plugin synths, and sometimes I started hardware synth because, on my last track, the synth was working very well. And for example, I love electron stuff. I have analog 4, and, I have I do some nice synthwave bass on this electron analog 4, and I use it in some track in Ascent. And on some second day, I feel, okay, I have this great bass from the analog 4, okay, I will start with that. And I started, and a couple hours later, it was stopped working. And I exchanged that for the Korg Poly 6 from plugins, and it was working much better.
Huh.
So, it really depends. I am working with hybrid, and I am very happy of that. But as you said, I am almost every day thinking about selling all my stuff, and stick only on plugins. But it is also that hardware synths are a little bit demanding. So when I am not usually I am not sticking to patch. I am always creating something new. It's like you checking my saving patches. It's like big messes, no good names or stuff like that. Because I'm also like sitting doing some that and recording, and same thing is with modular stuff. I have some modular stuff. It's really hardcore with that, because modulars, when you switch them, you turn on them next day, they never sound the same. Even with if you left all these cables in this right place, they never sound the same next day. So you need to record them, and you are pretty sure that you can be back to them. And for some, also this hardware, especially modular synth, when you find some sound ideas for them, usually you just create something original. But it's not like you can't doing something original in the plugins world. So it's not quite a matter what methods to create sound you use. It's more matter what you create.
Yeah, exactly.
Not tools. It is like ideas.
And
music.
For example, Arturia has some great emulators, and the sound and the feel the same. And coming to the modern plugins, I mean, as you've mentioned, Yuhi has some fantastic, like Zebra, Diva, Repro, amazing synth, and I do the same. I start with blank pages always. I don't have templates, and with blank pages, the possibilities are endless. And when you have like a fantastic substance at your disposal in the beginning, it's so much faster. But yet again, you don't have that amazing feeling of touching a thing and changing a wave of sound in the room. That's so magical, man. That's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes, exactly.
Speaking of synths, what are some of your favorite digital synths?
Favorite digital synth. Mostly I use on the Ascent, I used Waldorf Quantum.
Wow, yeah.
But to be a little tricky, I use it with the Yamaha DX7 MK1 samplers. And speaking back to combat tracks, it is mostly this Yamaha DX7 first 12-bit, but sampled with on Waldorf Quantum, and this is mostly this aggressive. I even named those patch Cyber Bass. Mostly those bass was more aggressive. So it's this kind of FM synths, but going through Waldorf and I use Waldorf a lot. Also, I sampled on Waldorf my Jupiter 4, Prophet 5, and Yamaha CS30. And I also, speaking of digital synths, I also love Northwave, and I use it a Northwave, of course, with samplers from analog synths. In atmosphere tracks, it was probably this space port allays or this scrapyard allays. I used Northwave a lot, also because Northwave has FM synthesis, I use that. Yeah, and what other digital synths? Yeah, I used Roland JDXA. I used Jupiter X Roland, and I use JV 1080 for this pizzicato sounds on one of this track. It was probably some Yakuza, not sure which track I need to, but I tried to. It was very interesting thing because I have also JV 1080 in the Roland Cloud, and I was first, start idea for this track, with this pizzicato track, pam 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 pam. It was starting with the Roland Cloud JV 1080, but then I bring my old, my old JV 1080 original hardware. And it was really, the differences were like 5-10%. But, it was like this original was a little bit dirtier, a little bit more alive. It was like this 10%. But I chose hardware thing when it's playing a solo. But as I could remember, I need, I was always sending to Neon Gent, some preview of track, and with 1 minute, and asking them if they like it, if this fits this gameplay, fit this atmosphere, and probably they send me back that they like this track. And, I was, I don't want this, connecting this hardware or cables second. And probably, I am not sure, but probably on the last, on this other parts of track, when I didn't, copy this first, I was using the Roland from this Roland Cloud JV 1080 and find the same pizzicato sounds. Because, when they played solo in the mix, it was important. But when they played more in the mix, with other instruments, it was not so important for having this, a little bit dirtier feeling. But in the beginning, I was really, really like how original hardware is sounding, because it was more like, it was important. It was more feel of the city. The cities in the Ascent, are a little bit noir, dirty, dark. So it was really, I want not have to, to modern, clear sounding pizzicato sounds. And it's quite, it is pretty nerd, but I think sometimes it's important, especially when those instruments play solo in the mix. So, it was not exactly the attack of the pizzicato, but it was more that release of the pizzicato.
Yeah.
Was after, after you put reverb on it, this release was really darker. And, when I was inspired, but a lot of electronic stuff, sometimes this really create very important atmosphere that this, this some kind of, like I thought before, it is like in Formula One, this milliseconds, but milliseconds sometimes allow you to, in Formula One to win. But sometimes, especially in electronic music, these small differences help you create what you want. So, I was really need to have these dirty things. And what was this release of this pizzicato from JV 1080 give you this, some, dirt, dark feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was thinking it was important to convince this atmosphere of city.
This is crazy how processing a sound, how doing a little touches on a sound creates a whole different feeling. I was talking to the audio director of Outriders, and he told me to create a dirty, a kind of a dystopian world. They always aim to saturate the sound. Saturation creates dirt, creates imperfection. And I'm working on a project with the kind of same feeling, industrial feeling into it. And I applied that into the mix and changed everything. And the process is probably, when you see it, like, is this going to do anything in the project? I don't think so. But overall, when you hear the whole mix, it's like, oh, wow. It really creates a whole different new experience audio-wise.
Yes, exactly.
So,
if I can say, it was like, it is one synthesizer which isn't in a digital world. This Roland SH2. I have plugin Roland SH2, which is quite good, but original Roland SH2 is really this kind of synth, especially for these arpeggios. Mostly in the Ascent arpeggios, this is Roland SH2, because I can't find other synth so sounding nice on the arpeggio. And as you said, especially when I compressed this SH2, it is always not that sound was beefy and fat. It was always give this noise, and this saturation. It was something which you really create atmosphere right away, it was, you feel that you are in the game. If you feel this, that serves this word of the game pretty nice. So, I love when you're asking me about analog synths. Firstly, Roland SH2, I really love this synth.
Exactly.
Even I have Moog 1 and Prophet 5 here.
Yeah, again, going back to the whole kind of philosophy of cyberpunk, high-tech, low-life. Yeah. I mean, we're using a high-tech device to create sound, but we kind of distort it, kind of compress it to also create that low-life feeling into it. And Ascent is full of that. Garbage bags everywhere, greasy walls.
Yes.
And exactly. So,
Arcade, the team member of the Neon Jam told me, Paweł, they put a lot of metal to the body. They are, it is not like high-tech improvements of body. They are metal, weighty stuff, and you are put that on in music should be also, in this style to feel that. So I that keep in mind. I even recording shells with these big guns shells. I recording that and make some audio editing with them, because it is word of Ascent blood, metal and blood, and it's kind of those improvements. They are not high-tech improvements. They are most brutal kind of improvement.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of your favorites. So what are some of your favorite video games of all the time? Video game scores of all the time. Music for video games.
Scores. Okay. I played StarCraft 2 a lot.
Wow,
and, I just love this game. It is, pretty old game, but it's fast, and I really love that game. But about scores, since I said, I am Commodore 64. From my youth, I was raised with Commodore 64. This music really influenced me a lot. So, my favorites tracks those days, always they are sticking in my mind, like Martin Galway from Comic Bakery, Rob Hubbard, Ben Daglish, those the composers for the Commodore 64. I still love those tracks and this feeling. I also using Electron Seed Station. Sometimes 9 Inch Nails also use Seed Stations, because it's really hard, really dirty sound from Commodore. And from this modern, I like very much World of Warcraft. I like StarCraft soundtracks. I like first Hello from Martin O'Donnell, and I like Kevin Ripple, Gears of War, first part, because I think he really make great composition, really dirty and dissonance. I really like this stuff. His stuff.
I sense a Blizzard fan here. You mentioned Diablo, StarCraft, World of Warcraft.
Diablo 2, StarCraft,
yeah. So, what are your favorite film scores?
I like very much Polish composer Michał Lorenz and soundtrack from Bandyta. And I'm not sure how this English pronounced. I love this Michał Lorenz scores. He is just great composer for me. And I also like Harry Gregson Williams for the Chronicles of Narnia score. I like this score, even if it's maybe for kids. I love this score. It's some kind of nostalgic. I like Tron from Daft Punk. I like Tron a lot. Blade Runner, Vangelis, of course. I like a lot of Vangelis stuff, but I think Blade Runner is one of the best from Vangelis. I like Morricone for westerns because I wrote Call of Juarez. Yeah, so it was like study Morricone inspiration, but Morricone, but he was great. I like Killer, Polish composer, which he did for Dracula. His work. I like Hans Zimmer, but mostly his work from 90s. Graph, and I like Trevor Rabin. His score for this movie about Coast Guards. It was some old movie, and he is also a great composer for me.
Yes.
And I like BT. I like BT for his first score for how this movie about cars with Vin Diesel. BT score for first part.
Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious.
Yeah. But
I am more fan of this first one part and third part because it was more real for me. And I also Brian Tyler. I also like Brian Tyler. But I think BT did a really good stuff for especially first part. I like BT. I like his tracks also. I like this composer much.
Yeah, crazy. You mentioned Call of Juarez. I was a kid playing Call of Juarez 1.
Thank you.
That was amazing. I love that series. I hope they make another one. Techland is fantastic.
Yeah.
I love every game they make.
Yeah. I doing with Techland. I am not working for Techland anymore. I'm freelancer now, but I was working for Techland from 1998, and I did with them really a lot of games. Most of games I did with Techland, and they
Dying Light, Call of Juarez.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah.
How about this? How about that new game? Are you working with them for? Because I saw
Dying Light 2. No,
they have another game. It was something with Hellraid. What was that?
Hellraid.
Yeah.
Hellraid.
Are you working with that?
Yeah, Hellraid is expansion for Dying Light. I was writing music for Dying Light, and this kind of nostalgic synthwave. It was quite interesting because I started this synthwave before synthwave, so it was. I started my music. You can name that is synthwave in the Dying Light, but I started this music before synthwave, so it was so popular. So it was a little bit hard to convince some people in Techland that this music is okay for this game, and it should be in this game. And after Dying Light released, this synthwave come to be come to be interesting, come to be hype.
Yeah.
And, it's
now it's everywhere.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, now it's everywhere. Yeah, I am from 80s, and I know that in 80s this music was a little bit older than Synthwave, but I really love Synthwave, and I really love this approach. And I trying to Synthwave in Ascent, because I think it's really cool style. Tor and Arcade, they sent me a lot of references with Synthwave, and I love Synthwave from the beginning, and composers of Synthwave, I love them.
You know what would be great? To have a Western like Call of Juarez with Synthwave music. That would be awesome. Something new.
Yeah.
Imagine if they have like a cyberpunk guns. Gunslingers with laser guns.
Yeah, but you need to convince producers that since I working with the Western, and I think it's probably easier every year, because I think some composers for the some games and movies about Vikings, they are using also synths, and I think if synths working for something combined with some guitars, acoustic guitars, if it really depends how what music you are write. If you're not making music sounding synthetic and sci-fi for the Western, but sounding still Western with the acoustic guitars, but you adding some dirty sounding synths, if this fit this whole world of the game and serve this gameplay, because it is always most important that music should serve world of the game. Music is for this world, for the gameplay, it should fit. So I think if the music will be work for that, it would be great. But you are also need that if you right now, if you want really capture the world of Ennio Morricone in the Western game, you need also do a lot audio editing and a lot methods, some kinds saturation, but just cut off some low frequency and stuff like this. Use bandpass filters. So it is quite some kind of editing work behind trying to capture Ennio Morricone song.
Yeah,
if you want this kind of sound.
Speaking of Western, that, my friend Rafael Colantonio is the designer of this upcoming game Weird West, and he's also the composer of the game, and he's doing something like that. It's not synthwave, but it's kind of combining electronic rock music with Western music. But then again, it's in Weird West subgenre, so it allows to create something like that. So, as a veteran of the industry, Paweł, what advice do you have for the newcomers?
Yeah, it is a hard question. And, I will probably, it is kind of question with this. I would, maybe I should give advice, but I would not quite give it advice. But if I could give advice, maybe it will be strange, but I think don't try too hard. It is kind of Charles Bukowski, if you know something about this guy. He was always try to be a writer, and his work was rejected, and he go to alcoholism. And maybe it is a little bit maybe it is not good example, but I think don't try too hard, because it is writing music is hard, and it's hard job. When I am writing music right now, it's, of course, I like to write music. I am very grateful that I can do that as my job. If I can do that from the morning to the evening. Yeah, I am really grateful for this. I can also say I am lucky because it's really hard to earn money from working and writing music. It is not easy job, and I am for example I am, but it is still a job. It is hard job, so it is not hobby for me. Even if nights, I am still, I like watching YouTube videos about compressors and mixing stuff. I love that. And I can do weekends. I am not spending weekends sometimes on, new movie from HBO, but I am, spend weekends on YouTube videos, which compressor are better.
Yeah, me too.
But, I am also need to find something which I will do for my free time. So, for example, I am trying to learn how to fly a drone, DJ FPV on manual mode. It's something new. I am trying to. I played basketball a lot of years, and now I am trying to learn tennis. I love to ride bicycle. So, you must also think that it will be, if you want that writing music will be your job, it will be your job. So, and it will be hard job. It is like not that you wrote a song game and, every people will be, asking Paweł next game, what, we are giving you next time. It is not working like that. So it is, it is not easy. So if you are someone who is writing music and want to become a job about that, you must just keep in mind that it will be not easy. You also need a kind of luck about in that. It is a lot easier right now starting doing music than 20 years ago, because right now it is very possible that some of friends of other friend is writing a game alone, because right now it is time that only one people can write a game, because this are all Unreal engines and this stuff. So it's easier to go to the industry. But if you even write 1, 2, 3 games, it is not mean that get next job will be easier. It will be not, probably. So you need to keep it in mind. And maybe second advice: don't be a guy with the bigger ego in the town.
Yeah.
When doing a games, it is always teamwork. It is always teamwork and team working for the making good game, and you are only part of that. And music is for saving a game. It is not like game. It will be serving your music. Don't have this biggest ego. You need to serve a game. It will be always working best for you. First, you will be finished that game,
Yeah.
and second, it will be best way for me. So I am really happy that I could be part of the Ascent. If they allowed me write music, I am really grateful for them for doing that. Really happy. Yeah, it was my dream project, because as I said, I love sci-fi, cyberpunk stuff. But it is they allowing me to write. So it's I love that. I was part of that.
Yeah, they hired the best guy in the town. He's passionate about it and he knows about it. He's also Polish.
Thank you.
He's one of the best composers of the industry. So thank you so much, Paweł.
Thank
Your
you.
music has always
Thank
been
you.
a great contributor to the games I love. And it's always a joy to listen to your music and also study
Thank
it
you.
to learn a thing or two. Thank you so much for your time and have a great day.
Thank you.